Ethan had always been a quiet presence on campus. He was not the type of student who drew attention, nor did he have a circle of friends who invited him to parties or outings. Most days he focused on classes, part-time jobs, and keeping up with life's small challenges. He was used to the hum of early mornings, the clatter of coffee cups in the campus cafe, and the constant shuffle of students rushing between buildings. Life for him was simple, practical, and often exhausting, but he didn't complain. There was pride in being able to support himself, even if it meant living frugally and skipping small pleasures others took for granted. The annual college dance was approaching, and a wave of excitement buzzed through the campus. Posters on walls advertised tickets and fancy dresses, and students whispered about who would go with whom. For Ethan, the event was more of a reminder of what he did not have than something to look forward to. He had no date, no one to laugh with under the dim lights of the gym, no one to share a slow dance or a silly conversation about music. The thought weighed on him as he moved through the library, his backpack heavy with textbooks and his mind heavier with worry about the upcoming exams. One afternoon, Ethan found himself walking past the campus infirmary. He had twisted his ankle slightly while carrying groceries from his part-time job, and the dull ache in his foot had grown persistent. He hesitated at the door, knowing he needed attention but feeling self-conscious about asking for help. Students often teased each other for small injuries, and he didn't want to seem weak. Still, limping slightly, he pushed the door open and entered the cool, quiet room. Inside, the nurse on duty was arranging supplies at the counter. Her movements were precise, calm, and confident, and Ethan noticed the gentle smile she wore as she checked the forms on the desk. She looked up and greeted him warmly, asking what had happened. Ethan explained about his twisted ankle, trying not to exaggerate but also hoping she would take him seriously. She listened carefully, nodding and occasionally jotting down notes. Her voice was soft yet reassuring, and for some reason, Ethan felt his nerves settle slightly. As she examined his ankle, Ethan's eyes wandered around the room. There were posters about hand washing, emergency procedures, and healthy living. A small radio played quiet music in the background, adding a gentle hum to the room. He realized he had never spent much time in a place like this where care and calmness coexisted. The nurse's hands were steady as she wrapped his ankle in a bandage, giving instructions on rest and movement. Her kindness and patience struck him, making him wonder how someone could stay so composed and pleasant all day while tending to so many students. Feeling a little braver after the initial awkwardness, Ethan made a casual comment about the dance. "I guess everyone's excited about the dance coming up," he said, trying to sound nonchalant. He noticed the nurse's smile widen, and she nodded. "Yes, it's the event of the season for many students," she said. Ethan hesitated, his heart beating faster. He knew it sounded silly, but a thought had crossed his mind. Without fully realizing it, he asked, Would you be my date for the dance?" The words hung in the air, awkward and heavy with hesitation. He immediately felt embarrassed, wishing he could pull them back. The nurse paused, her eyes wide for a brief moment, and then laughter escaped her lips. A soft, genuine laugh that eased the tension in the room. "You want me, the nurse, to go to the dance with you?" she asked, amusement dancing in her voice. Ethan nodded, cheeks flushed, and muttered, "I know it sounds strange. I just thought, maybe." He stopped, unsure how to finish the sentence without sounding foolish. The nurse shook her head slightly, still smiling. "You're brave to ask," she said kindly. "And I think it could be fun." Ethan's heart leapt. "Really?" he asked, disbelief and hope mingling in his voice. She nodded again. "Yes, really. But promise me something. Don't be too nervous and just enjoy the evening. That's what dances are for." Relief washed over Ethan. He had expected laughter or a polite refusal, yet here she was, agreeing without judgment. The small hospital room seemed brighter suddenly, the dull ache in his ankle almost forgotten. For the first time in weeks, he felt a spark of excitement, a little thrill that made his day seem lighter. He thanked her, feeling clumsy but genuine, and promised to follow her advice. Over the next few days, Ethan and the nurse, whose name he learned was Lily, began to talk more. At first, their conversations were brief, often during his check-ins or when he stopped by for minor injuries or questions about campus health. But gradually, they grew longer and more personal. Ethan shared stories about his part-time jobs, the challenges of living on a tight budget, and the small victories of passing tough exams. Lily spoke about her work, her interest in helping students, and the little joys she found in simple interactions. Ethan noticed something about Lily that drew him in more than her kindness, her genuine curiosity about his life. Unlike many people he knew, she didn't pretend to care. She really listened. She asked questions, remembered details he had mentioned earlier, and responded with thoughtful advice or gentle humor. Her presence was calming, yet it stirred a nervous excitement in him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time. One afternoon, while Ethan was sitting on a bench outside the infirmary waiting for his ankle to heal, Lily joined him during her break. She carried a cup of tea and offered it to him with a smile. "You look like you could use a little break," she said. Ethan accepted, grateful for the gesture. They sat quietly for a few minutes, sipping their drinks, enjoying the warm sunlight and soft breeze. Ethan felt a sense of comfort he hadn't known he needed. "I still can't believe you agreed to the dance," he said finally, breaking the comfortable silence. I don't know, that you'd think it was silly." Lily laughed softly. "Sometimes the simplest things make the biggest difference," she replied. "And you seemed genuinely nervous, but in a good way. It was brave of you to ask." Ethan smiled, feeling his nervousness fade slightly. He realized that in asking her, he had taken a step outside his usual cautious life, and it felt exhilarating. Over the next week, they spent more time together, preparing for the dance in small ways. Ethan borrowed a suit from a friend, cleaned it meticulously, and rehearsed small talk in front of a mirror. Lily offered tips on looking comfortable and confident, giving advice not just about appearances but about carrying himself with ease. Their interactions were lighthearted and filled with laughter, yet there was an underlying current of anticipation and curiosity. Ethan found himself looking forward to each meeting, not just for the dance but for the moments of connection with Lily. One evening, as they walked through the campus garden after her shift, Ethan confessed, "I'm nervous about the dance. I don't really know how to fit in there." Lily glanced at him, her expression soft and understanding. "You don't have to fit in," she said gently. "Just be yourself. That's what people will notice. And I like being around you because you are yourself." Her words made Ethan's heart beat faster, and he realized that her presence alone made him feel seen in a way few others had. The night before the dance, Ethan lay awake in his small apartment, thinking about the events of the past week. Asking Lily to the dance had seemed impossible, yet here he was looking forward to an evening of laughter, music, and perhaps a little magic. He replayed their conversations, her gentle guidance, and her laughter, feeling both excitement and nervousness. He worried about making a good impression, but deep down, he knew that the connection they shared was genuine and not about appearances or status. For Lily, the week had been equally eye-opening. She had met many students in her role as a nurse, but few had approached her with such humility and sincerity. Ethan's courage in asking her out had surprised her, and she found herself looking forward to the dance in a way she hadn't expected. It was not just about the event, but about spending time with someone who was kind, genuine, and unafraid to show vulnerability. She thought about how rare it was to meet someone so grounded, especially in a world where people often focused on wealth, status, or appearances. By the time the day of the dance arrived, both Ethan and Lily felt a mixture of excitement, nerves, and anticipation. Ethan carefully dressed, making sure his suit was neat and clean, his shoes polished, and his hair tidy. He rehearsed small phrases in his mind, hoping to sound confident without being awkward. Lily, meanwhile, chose a simple yet elegant dress, comfortable enough for dancing but graceful in its simplicity. She took a moment to calm herself, reminding herself that the evening was about enjoyment, connection, and shared laughter, not about impressing anyone or proving herself. When Ethan arrived at the venue, his heart raced. The gymnasium was decorated with sparkling lights, balloons, and banners. Music filled the air, and students moved gracefully across the floor, laughing and chatting. Ethan scanned the room, nervous and unsure where to find Lily. Then he saw her standing near the entrance, her presence calm yet radiant. She noticed him at the same time, her eyes lighting up with a welcoming smile. Ethan's nerves melted slightly as he walked toward her. "Hi," he said, voice slightly shaky but sincere. Lily smiled warmly, holding out her hand. "Ready for tonight?" she asked. Ethan nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and relief. Together they entered the dance, their hands brushing occasionally, their laughter blending with the music. In that moment, Ethan realized that this simple decision to ask a nurse to the dance had opened a door to a connection far deeper than he had imagined. After the dance, Ethan felt a warmth he hadn't expected. The night had been magical, not because of the decorations or music, but because of Lily. There was something about the way she laughed freely, moved with ease, and talked without pretending to be anyone else that made him feel lighter than he had in months. As he walked her back to the infirmary after the event, he noticed the gentle way she looked at him, the quiet joy in her smile. The evening had been about dancing, yes, but it had become so much more. It had become about connection, something he had longed for but rarely experienced. In the days that followed, Ethan found himself replaying moments from the dance over and over in his mind. He remembered the way Lily's hand had brushed against his as they laughed over a clumsy spin, the soft murmur of her voice when they spoke in quiet corners of the gym, and the way she seemed genuinely interested in everything he said. It was as if the world around them disappeared, leaving only the two of them in a space filled with warmth and understanding. For Ethan, it was a revelation. He realized that he had been so focused on survival, jobs, bills, studies, that he had almost forgotten what it felt like to simply enjoy someone's presence. Lily, on her part, also noticed the subtle change in Ethan. He walked with a little more confidence. His face brightened with small smiles when their paths crossed on campus. She found herself looking for him during her shifts, wondering when she would see him next. It was unusual for her to be affected this way by a student, but Ethan was different. There was no pretense in him, no need to impress, no hidden motives. He was sincere, honest, and willing to show vulnerability, qualities she found rare and comforting. One afternoon, while Ethan was heading to the library, he spotted Lily taking a short break near the courtyard. She waved, and he felt a rush of happiness. Walking over, he greeted her with a shy smile. "Hey, how's your day?" he asked. Lily returned the smile warmly. "Busy as always, but seeing you makes it better," she said. They both laughed softly, the sound blending with the chatter of other students passing by. They began spending more time together, though mostly in small moments. Ethan would stop by the infirmary under the pretense of minor injuries or questions about campus health, but in reality, it was about seeing Lily. She didn't mind. She appreciated his company and enjoyed the conversations that had grown deeper with each meeting. They talked about dreams, fears, childhood memories, favorite books, and small life annoyances. Ethan learned that Lily had grown up in a family that valued hard work and kindness, and she had chosen nursing as a career because she loved helping others. She also had a quiet strength about her, an ability to face challenges with calm determination, which Ethan found inspiring. One day, Ethan shared a small victory from his part-time job. "I managed to save a little extra this month," he said, holding back a small grin. "It's not much, but it feels like progress." Lily's eyes lit up with genuine happiness. "That's amazing. I know how hard you work. You should be proud of yourself," she replied. Ethan felt a warmth spread through him, the kind that comes from being understood and appreciated. It was a simple moment, but it cemented the bond growing between them. Their conversations often wandered into lighthearted territory. Ethan would joke about his attempts at cooking, the odd looks he got while grocery shopping on a budget, or the strange situations at his part-time jobs. Lily laughed at his stories, sometimes sharing her own experiences in the hospital, the funny mistakes students made, or the unusual things she encountered during her shifts. These shared moments created a comfortable rhythm, a sense of familiarity that neither of them had expected. As they grew closer, Ethan began to notice the small details about Lily that made her unique. The way her eyes sparkled when she was amused, the gentle tone she used when she spoke to patients, the thoughtful gestures she made without expecting recognition. He realized that her kindness was not just a part of her job, it was part of who she was. It made him want to be better, to match her sincerity and generosity, even in small ways. Lily, too, noticed Ethan's qualities more clearly over time. She admired his perseverance, the quiet determination he showed despite the challenges he faced. He never complained about his struggles, even when juggling multiple jobs and studies. Instead, he approached life with a mix of practicality and optimism, a balance that was rare among students who often focused on social status or appearances. She also valued his sense of humor, his ability to find lightness in mundane situations, and the respect he showed to everyone around him. One afternoon, they sat on a bench near the campus fountain, sharing a quiet moment. Ethan had brought a small snack from home, and Lily accepted it with a playful smile. "You really think of everything," she teased. Ethan shrugged, a little embarrassed. "I try. Life's easier when you plan a little." They laughed together, the sound mingling with the soft splash of the fountain. In that moment, neither thought about their differences in age, social status, or life experience. They were simply two people enjoying each other's company, connected by mutual respect and growing affection. Over time, Ethan became more aware of Lily's life outside the hospital. She occasionally mentioned family gatherings, childhood trips, and experiences that hinted at a comfortable upbringing. However, she never boasted or flaunted her background, keeping the details subtle. Ethan found this reassuring. He didn't want to be judged or measured by wealth or social standing. He valued genuine connection. Lily, in turn, appreciated Ethan's humility, his ability to focus on the present and the way he treated people with kindness regardless of status. One day, as they walked through the campus gardens, Ethan brought up the topic of family casually. "Do you have brothers or sisters?" he asked, curious about her life outside work. Lily hesitated slightly but then smiled. "I have an older brother. He's very protective but also supportive," she said. Ethan nodded, feeling a sense of familiarity. "I see, family can really shape who we are, right?" Lily agreed, adding a thoughtful note. "Yes, but sometimes it's also about what we choose for ourselves." Ethan considered this quietly. He knew he had grown up in modest circumstances, learning to work hard and value small victories. But Lily's words made him realize that despite different upbringings, people often shared similar hopes and struggles. Their friendship began to take on a deeper meaning. Ethan noticed himself thinking about Lily at odd times, during classes, while working or walking across campus. He looked forward to her messages, her jokes, and the small gestures that made her presence comforting. Lily, too, felt a quiet anticipation before meeting Ethan. She found herself smiling at memories of their conversations, laughing at his small jokes and appreciating the ease with which they connected. One evening, Ethan stayed later than usual in the library, struggling with an assignment. Feeling frustrated, he considered giving up and heading home. Just then, his phone buzzed with a message from Lily. "Hey, want to take a break? Meet me by the fountain?" He smiled immediately and packed his books. Meeting her outside, he felt the tension of the day lift. They walked slowly around the fountain, talking about nothing and everything at the same time. The simplicity of the moment, free from expectations or pressures, was a reminder of why their connection felt so special. During these walks and conversations, Ethan began to notice subtle hints about Lily's life that she hadn't shared directly. The way she mentioned family vacations, small luxuries, and experiences that seemed beyond the reach of an ordinary student hinted at a different world, but she never emphasized it, never made it a point to create distance between them. Ethan found this both intriguing and slightly daunting. He wondered if there was more to her life than she let on, but he also appreciated her humility. Lily noticed Ethan's curiosity and reassured him indirectly through her words and actions. She valued honesty and sincerity above all, and it was clear that she trusted him. One afternoon, as they sat on a bench sharing ice cream, she said, "I like that we can talk about anything, even small things. It makes life feel lighter." Ethan nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest. "Me too. I don't think I've felt this comfortable with anyone in a long time," he admitted. Her smile deepened and she reached out to gently touch his hand. The small gesture sent a thrill through him, a quiet acknowledgement of the bond they were forming. As the weeks passed, Ethan's feelings grew stronger. He found himself wanting to support Lily in small ways, carrying extra items when she was busy, offering to help with tasks, or simply being there when she needed someone to talk to. Lily, in turn, appreciated his thoughtfulness and began relying on his presence more than she expected. Their interactions, though seemingly ordinary, were layered with subtle affection, shared understanding, and trust. The turning point came one afternoon when they both volunteered at a small campus event. They worked side by side, coordinating activities, helping students, and managing small crises. Ethan admired Lily's patience and efficiency, and she noticed his calm problem-solving skills. By the end of the day, they were exhausted but happy, sharing a quiet moment on a bench overlooking the campus lawns. Ethan realized that he genuinely enjoyed spending time with her, not because of obligation but because of the ease, laughter, and shared experiences. It was during moments like these that Ethan started to suspect there was more to Lily than she let on. There was a refinement in her manners, a quiet confidence, and stories that hinted at resources he had never encountered. Yet she never flaunted anything. Her focus was always on the present moment, the people around her, and the genuine interactions she could share. Ethan admired her humility and felt a mix of curiosity and anxiety. He wondered what it would mean if he ever learned the full truth about her life. Meanwhile, Lily enjoyed the simplicity of their growing friendship. She appreciated Ethan's authenticity, his willingness to listen, and the way he treated everyone with respect. She found herself looking forward to small moments, walking to the infirmary together, sharing snacks, or discussing plans for future campus events. For her, these ordinary moments had become extraordinary because of the person she shared them with. One evening, Ethan and Lily were sitting under a tree near the campus pond, talking about their dreams. Ethan shared his ambitions of completing college, finding a stable career, and making a difference in small ways. Lily spoke of her hopes to help more people, continue learning, and perhaps take on more leadership in her field. Their words reflected their shared values: hard work, kindness, and a desire to make life meaningful. For Ethan, it was a rare moment of connection where he felt seen, understood, and encouraged. The days grew warmer, and their friendship deepened naturally. Ethan felt a quiet joy in anticipating their meetings, while Lily found comfort in his presence. They laughed together, supported each other, and shared experiences that created memories neither would forget. Even as life's pressures, jobs, exams, and responsibilities continued to weigh on Ethan, his interactions with Lily became a source of strength and motivation. Through these moments, the unspoken bond between them grew stronger. Neither rushed to define it, but both understood that something meaningful was unfolding. Ethan began to recognize that Lily's kindness, patience, and intelligence made her extraordinary, and he felt a quiet determination to be worthy of her friendship. Lily, too, recognized Ethan's resilience, humility, and gentle nature, finding herself increasingly drawn to his character rather than superficial qualities. And so, in the midst of ordinary campus life, small victories and shared laughter, a quiet, profound connection blossomed between Ethan and Lily. It was built not on wealth, status, or appearances, but on sincerity, shared moments, and the simple joy of being understood. Little did Ethan know, the hints he had noticed about Lily's background were only scratching the surface. There was a truth she had kept private, a truth that would soon challenge everything he thought he knew about her, and about the world he had always considered beyond his reach. But for now, they continued their journey together, savoring ordinary moments made extraordinary by genuine connection, mutual respect, and the first sparks of a bond that neither would forget. As the semester continued, Ethan and Lily's bond grew stronger, but there was a quiet tension that neither of them spoke aloud. Ethan had begun to notice subtle glimpses of a life that seemed far removed from his own. It wasn't just the stories Lily casually told about her family, or the way she mentioned occasional trips to places that felt luxurious, but small things: her poised manner, her carefully chosen words, the way people occasionally treated her with a polite deference he hadn't encountered before, yet she never flaunted anything, never made him feel out of place. For Ethan, it was both intriguing and unsettling. He didn't want to misjudge her, but he wondered how much of her life she was sharing, and how much she was keeping to herself. One afternoon, Ethan found Lily sitting under a large oak tree, reading a book during her break. He approached quietly, not wanting to startle her, and she looked up with a warm smile that made his nerves settle immediately. "Hey," she said, "I saved you a spot." He sat down beside her, and for a moment they just watched the campus grounds, listening to the faint hum of students moving between classes. There was a calmness to these moments, a gentle pause in the chaos of college life, that Ethan treasured. "You've been quiet today," Lily observed, closing her book. "Everything okay?" Ethan hesitated, unsure how to phrase the thought that had been growing in his mind. I was just thinking," he began slowly, "about how different our lives might be. You seem, I don't know, you have experiences I can't even imagine." Lily tilted her head, curious but cautious. What do you mean? She asked gently. Ethan tried to choose his words carefully. I mean, the way you talk about your family or the little things you mention. It sounds like your world is so different from mine. Lily paused, considering his words. She had sensed his curiosity for some time, but had never directly addressed it. She wanted him to see her as she truly was, not the life she came from. Taking a deep breath, she said, You're right, Ethan. There is more to my life than what I've shared. But I want you to know that what matters to me is who you are, not where you come from or what I have. Ethan felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. Relief that she valued him for himself, and anxiety because he sensed the truth she had yet to reveal might still surprise him. Over the next few days, Ethan noticed that Lily was occasionally distracted. She seemed preoccupied during their usual walks, sometimes checking her phone more frequently or pausing to answer messages that clearly carried importance. Ethan tried not to overthink it, reminding himself that everyone had responsibilities, but a small knot of curiosity grew in his chest. He wanted to ask her directly, but he also respected her privacy. Their friendship had built on trust, and he didn't want to jeopardize it with pressure. Then came the day of the campus charity event, a large gathering involving students, staff, and invited guests. Ethan had volunteered to help set up tables and manage small tasks, and to his surprise, he noticed Lily coordinating the volunteers with ease and authority. She seemed to know many of the guests personally, greeting them with warmth and confidence, and even speaking with several individuals in a professional tone that suggested experience beyond her years. Ethan observed quietly, a growing realization forming in his mind. There was more to Lily's life than he had imagined. After the event, they sat together on the steps near the auditorium, exhausted but happy. Ethan finally broached the subject. Lily, I think I'm starting to understand, he said cautiously. You're more than just a nurse on campus. You move in circles I can barely imagine. Am I right? Lily looked at him, her expression unreadable for a moment, then nodded slowly. Yes, you're right, she admitted. My family is, well, they have resources and responsibilities that you probably don't know about. I've kept it from you because I didn't want it to change how you see me. Ethan felt a strange mix of emotions, curiosity, surprise, and a quiet apprehension. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Because I didn't want it to matter, Lily replied softly. I didn't want my background to make things complicated. I wanted us to connect without it influencing your thoughts about me. Ethan took a deep breath, considering her words. He realized that she valued honesty and connection over appearances, and that her humility was genuine. He also knew that this revelation could change everything, yet he felt a determination to understand, not to retreat. Over the next few weeks, Ethan observed Lily in a new light. He noticed her confidence in meetings with university staff, her ease in interacting with influential guests, and the subtle deference people showed her when her name was mentioned. Yet despite this, she treated him with the same warmth, the same casual friendliness, and the same genuine interest in his life. It was both comforting and intimidating. He realized that she was not defined by her background but by her character, and that she had chosen to be present in his world on her own terms. One evening, as they walked through the campus gardens, Ethan asked more gently about her family. Can you tell me a little about them? I mean, just enough so I understand. Lily smiled, touched by his careful approach. My father runs a company, she began. It's been in the family for years. He's successful, yes, but he's also very strict about privacy and responsibility. We grew up understanding that with privilege comes accountability. Ethan listened intently, imagining a life so different from his own. He felt a quiet awe, realizing that Lily had grown up in a world far beyond the modest struggles he faced. I never knew, Ethan admitted softly. I guess I assumed. He trailed off, unsure how to phrase his thought without sounding judgmental. Lily reached out, lightly touching his arm. It's okay. Most people assume things based on little hints. What matters is what you see now, not what you imagined. Ethan felt a wave of gratitude. Her humility and patience made him feel accepted, even as the gap between their lives became clearer. Despite this new knowledge, their friendship deepened. Ethan found himself wanting to be part of her world in a meaningful way, not by wealth or status, but by support, trust, and shared experiences. He realized that she had given him a gift, the chance to connect genuinely without the barriers of social expectations. Lily, in turn, appreciated Ethan's ability to remain grounded, to see her for who she was rather than her family's influence. She noticed how he treated others with kindness, how he worked tirelessly without complaint, and how he valued honesty over appearances. Their conversations became more personal, touching on fears, hopes, and insecurities. Ethan shared his worries about finances, about keeping up with school, and about finding stability after graduation. Lily listened without judgment, offering advice and encouragement. "You're doing more than most would," she told him one evening as they walked along the campus pond. "Don't underestimate the value of your efforts. Hard work and integrity matter more than privilege or luck." Ethan felt a quiet reassurance in her words. He realized that despite the differences in their backgrounds, their values were aligned. One day, while studying together in the library, Ethan noticed Lily's phone buzz repeatedly. She glanced at it, her face briefly clouded with concern before she turned back to him with a gentle smile. "Sorry," she said softly. "Family matters sometimes need attention. Nothing to worry about." Ethan nodded, sensing that there was more beneath the surface, but choosing to trust her judgment. He realized that part of understanding someone was knowing when to step back and let them manage their own world. As time went on, Ethan became more comfortable navigating the subtle complexities of Lily's life. He observed the quiet influence she held among faculty, her calm authority in coordinating events, and the way people respected her opinions. Yet she never used her background to intimidate or create distance. Instead, she remained approachable, kind, and attentive, a fact that only increased Ethan's admiration for her. He found himself inspired, wanting to grow, improve, and be someone who could match her sincerity and strength in his own way. The tension of unspoken differences occasionally surfaced. Ethan sometimes worried that his modest background might make him seem inadequate. He caught himself comparing his life with hers, imagining how her family's resources and experiences could create a gap he feared he could never bridge. Yet every time he voiced a concern, Lily reassured him. "Ethan, our connection isn't about wealth, status, or appearances," she said gently one evening as they sat beneath the oak tree where they had first spoken about differences. "It's about trust, respect, and shared moments. That's what matters most." Her words grounded him, reminding him that their bond had been built on sincerity from the start. One weekend, Ethan was invited to a small gathering hosted by Lily's family. He felt nervous, unsure how to navigate a world so different from his own. Lily sensed his apprehension and offered quiet encouragement. "Just be yourself," she said. "That's all anyone will want from you." Ethan took her advice to heart, realizing that she valued authenticity above all else. He prepared carefully, choosing clothes that were neat and simple, practicing polite conversation without pretense, and reminding himself to focus on connection rather than impressing. When he arrived, he was struck by the elegance of the setting. The house was large, tastefully decorated, and filled with people who carried themselves with quiet confidence. Ethan felt a pang of nervousness, but reminded himself that Lily had chosen to invite him because she valued him. As he approached her, she greeted him with a reassuring smile, and the nervousness began to fade. Together, they moved through the gathering, Ethan learning slowly how to navigate conversations, meet new faces, and engage with ease he didn't know he had. Throughout the evening, Ethan noticed subtle cues about Lily's upbringing, the way guests deferred to her lightly, the polite attentiveness in their conversations, and the respect her family commanded. Yet despite the sophistication surrounding him, Lily remained grounded, introducing him to people with warmth and care. He realized that her humility was genuine, not a mask, and that the world she came from was one she navigated gracefully without losing her kindness. By the end of the night, Ethan felt a quiet pride. He had faced a world so different from his own, and had managed to remain himself. Lily's presence had been a steady support, guiding him without overshadowing him. As they walked home afterward, she laughed softly at one of his nervous jokes, and he felt the familiar warmth in his chest, the feeling of being accepted and understood. Despite the growing intimacy, Ethan still wondered about the limits of their worlds. Could someone from his modest life truly belong in the world Lily inhabited? He worried silently, but found reassurance in her constant gestures of trust, kindness, and shared joy. Lily, too, recognized the courage it took for Ethan to step into unfamiliar territory, and she admired his authenticity, resilience, and willingness to embrace challenges without complaint. The day of the campus gala arrived with a sense of excitement and tension that neither Ethan nor Lily had expected. Weeks of preparation had led to this moment, and the atmosphere on campus was electric. Students dressed in elegant attire moved gracefully between the buildings, laughter and chatter blending with the distant notes of a live string quartet. For Ethan, the event was intimidating. The gala was known to attract not only students and faculty, but also special guests from outside the university, including prominent figures from business, politics, and the arts. It was a world far removed from the modest apartments, part-time jobs, and library nights that defined his daily life. He stood in front of the mirror in his small apartment, adjusting his tie for the third time, taking a deep breath, and reminding himself of Lily's advice. "Just be yourself," she had said. Her words echoed in his mind. Ethan liked to think he had practiced confidence in quiet ways, handling multiple jobs, managing studies, and navigating daily struggles. But this was different. This was stepping into a world where appearances, manners, and social awareness mattered as much as sincerity. Still, he trusted Lily and the connection they had built over weeks of laughter, small adventures, and shared vulnerability. When he arrived at the venue, Ethan's nerves spiked momentarily. The grand hall glittered with chandeliers, polished floors reflected the soft lighting, and tables decorated with flowers and candles lined the room. Guests in designer clothing and elegant suits mingled with champagne glasses in hand, discussing business ventures, campus achievements, and upcoming projects. Ethan felt a wave of self-doubt, noticing the sharp contrast between himself, simple suit, modest demeanor, and the polished sophistication of the crowd. Then he saw her. Lily stood near the entrance, a vision of calm elegance in a flowing dress that was stylish yet understated. She noticed him instantly and smiled, a reassuring gesture that melted his apprehension. Her presence was grounding, reminding him that he had nothing to prove beyond being genuine. She extended her hand and he took it, feeling a quiet surge of confidence. "Ready?" she asked softly. Ethan nodded, and together they stepped into the crowd, navigating the social currents with careful awareness. The first few interactions were nerve-wracking. Guests greeted Lily with familiarity, some bowing slightly in respect, others offering compliments or polite conversation. Ethan followed her lead, introducing himself to a few individuals with a firm handshake and steady voice. He stumbled at first, words catching in his throat, but Lily's gentle presence reminded him to breathe and stay natural. She subtly guided him through conversations, providing cues without overtly directing him. He realized that part of being present in her world was listening, observing, and responding with sincerity, a skill he had cultivated in his own life without realizing it. As the evening progressed, Ethan found moments to connect with Lily outside the formal interactions. They shared quiet laughs by the balcony, watching students twirl on the dance floor, and spoke about music, favorite moments from the semester, and dreams for the future. Each conversation, though seemingly simple, was layered with trust and affection. Ethan felt a deepening sense of belonging. He wasn't just a guest in Lily's world. He was part of it because she had chosen him to be, and because he had brought authenticity and care to the relationship. At one point, a prominent guest approached Lily, engaging her in a discussion about a charitable initiative connected to her family's company. Ethan stepped back slightly, feeling the weight of her world pressing around him. He watched as she spoke with confidence, intelligence, and warmth, managing the conversation effortlessly. For a moment, he felt the gap between their worlds keenly, imagining the life she navigated daily. Decisions, responsibilities, and expectations that he could barely comprehend. Yet he also felt admiration, realizing that her strength, poise, and humility made her extraordinary, and that she had chosen to share moments with him despite it all. Later, a soft piece of music began playing, signaling a transition from conversation to dance. Ethan hesitated at first, the weight of the crowd making him self-conscious. But Lily's hand in his was reassuring, grounding him in the present. "Come on," she said gently. "Let's enjoy this together." They moved to the floor, and as they danced, Ethan felt a sense of freedom he hadn't experienced in a long time. The lights reflected softly on the polished surface. Music swirled around them, and laughter from nearby students created a comforting background. It was a moment where differences in background, social status, and expectations faded, leaving only two people connected by trust and genuine affection. During a slow dance, Ethan found courage to speak from the heart. "Lily, I want you to know, being here with you, sharing this moment, it means more than I can say. I've faced a lot in life, and yet you, make it feel possible to dream bigger." Lily smiled softly, her eyes reflecting warmth and understanding. "Ethan, that's exactly why I wanted you here. Not because of the world around us, but because of who we are together. I wanted this moment to be real, not shaped by expectations or appearances." His heart swelled with gratitude and admiration, realizing that her humility and insight were as rare as her kindness. After the dance, they found a quiet corner near the balcony, overlooking the softly lit campus grounds. Ethan shared stories of his childhood, the small joys and the challenges he had faced, from part-time jobs to the occasional struggle to pay bills. Lily listened attentively, asking questions, showing interest, and offering encouragement. Her engagement made him feel valued, seen, and appreciated, not for what he could give or achieve, but simply for being himself. As the evening continued, a few of Lily's acquaintances approached to greet her, including family members who had arrived quietly. Ethan observed from a distance, noticing the subtle ways they interacted, polite smiles, shared jokes, and the unspoken respect they had for her. He felt a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. This was a world he had never imagined, and yet Lily moved within it with ease and humility. When she returned to him, she sensed his curiosity and whispered, "Don't worry. You don't need to impress anyone here. Just enjoy the night with me." Her words grounded him, reminding him that their connection was what truly mattered. Later in the evening, a short speech was announced, celebrating students, volunteers, and contributors to the gala. Lily's father, seated discreetly among the guests, observed Ethan with quiet attention. Ethan, unaware of this, continued to interact naturally, assisting a few students, offering help to carry refreshments, and engaging politely with attendees. Lily noticed his composure and subtle acts of kindness, admiring how he handled himself in a space so far removed from his usual life. She felt a surge of pride and warmth, realizing that he was genuine, caring, and grounded, qualities that could never be measured by wealth or status. During a break in the event, they stepped outside onto a terrace, the cool night air providing a contrast to the warm lights inside. Ethan looked at the city skyline, taking a deep breath. "It's incredible," he said softly. "Everything. It feels so far from what I'm used to, and yet being here with you makes it feel natural." Lily placed a hand on his arm, smiling. "That's because it's not about the surroundings. It's about us and the connection we share. That's what makes it real." Ethan felt a profound sense of relief and happiness. Despite the grandeur and complexity of the evening, the simplicity of their bond anchored him. As they returned inside, a sudden commotion near the main hall caught Ethan's attention. A student had stumbled, nearly dropping a tray of refreshments, and Ethan instinctively moved to help, steadying the tray and ensuring no one was hurt. Lily watched quietly, impressed by his attentiveness, calm reaction, and willingness to assist without hesitation. It was a small act, but in that moment she realized once again that his character shone through, regardless of the social differences between them. By the time the gala drew to a close, Ethan and Lily had shared quiet laughter, deep conversations, and moments of unspoken understanding. The crowd thinned, lights dimmed, and the soft hum of music lingered as students and guests began to leave. Ethan felt a mixture of exhaustion and contentment. The evening had been a test of sorts, not just of social skill, but of character, patience, and authenticity. And he had realized that, despite the differences in their lives, their connection remained unshaken, strengthened by shared trust, respect, and genuine affection. As they walked back through the campus grounds, the crisp night air carrying the scent of flowers and distant rain, Ethan felt a quiet confidence growing within him. "Lily," he said softly, "I don't know what the future holds, but tonight showed me that being with you feels right. No matter what challenges we face, I want to be part of your world." Lily looked at him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of emotion and reassurance. "Ethan, I feel the same way. Our worlds may be different, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that we trust each other, value each other, and care for each other. For the first time, Ethan felt a sense of belonging that went beyond the ordinary. The gala had not just been an event. It had been a revelation. He had seen a world so different from his own, yet he had navigated it with integrity, humility, and sincerity. Lily had seen him, not the outsider, not the student of modest means, but the person who had earned her trust and admiration through simple acts of character and authenticity. By the time they reached the dormitory area, both were quiet, savoring the night's experiences. The twinkling lights of the campus reflected in Ethan's mind, not as symbols of wealth or status, but as markers of the journey they had shared. One of laughter, support, curiosity, and growing affection. Lily squeezed his hand gently, a wordless acknowledgement of the bond they had strengthened. Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth that neither grandeur nor complexity could overshadow. And as they parted that night, each returned to their own world carrying a newfound certainty that despite differences in background, wealth, and expectation, their connection was real, grounded in trust, kindness, and shared moments that would shape the foundation of something lasting. The gala had tested them, revealed truths, and yet solidified the understanding that their bond was more than circumstance. It was a choice, nurtured by sincerity, patience, and mutual respect. The weeks after the gala carried a different rhythm for Ethan and Lily. The world they had glimpsed together, the elegance, the expectations, and the unspoken pressures had not diminished their connection. If anything, it had strengthened it. Ethan no longer felt the same trepidation when navigating Lily's world. He had grown more confident in himself, more comfortable in the subtle ways he could engage with people from backgrounds vastly different from his own. Lily, too, noticed a quiet shift. His presence was no longer tentative. It carried assurance born from genuine experience and humility. They continued their routine of small, ordinary moments that had come to mean so much. Lunches in quiet corners of campus, walks through the garden, studying together in the library. These moments held a depth that made their friendship feel enduring. Ethan cherished the ease of conversation, the shared laughter over minor frustrations, and the gentle teasing that had become a familiar rhythm. Lily appreciated his thoughtfulness, the way he listened with intent, and the way he treated her as an equal despite the worlds that separated them. One chilly afternoon, Ethan found Lily sitting on a bench near the student center, a notebook open in her lap. She looked up as he approached, smiling warmly. "Hey," she said, "I saved you a spot." Ethan returned the smile, sitting beside her and brushing a strand of hair from his face. "I thought I'd find you here," he said lightly. "Always working, huh?" Lily laughed softly. "Someone has to make sense of all the chaos." She tapped the notebook. "Planning some future projects. It's exciting but tiring." Ethan nodded, sensing the depth of responsibility she carried, yet also the joy she found in meaningful work. Over the next few days, they found themselves drawn into quiet explorations of the campus at odd hours, moments when the world seemed slower and less complicated. Ethan shared stories of his childhood, memories of struggling to make ends meet, and the small victories that had carried him forward. Lily listened, genuinely interested, occasionally sharing her own reflections on lessons learned, both in her work and in life. It was in these unguarded moments that Ethan realized just how rare their connection was. Despite differences in background, they were equals in understanding, laughter, and trust. One day, as they walked past the campus fountain, Ethan broached a subject he had been considering for weeks. "Lily, have you ever thought about what it would mean for us if if people knew about our connection?" Lily paused, considering his question. "I have," she admitted. "It's not an easy world, Ethan. People make assumptions and expectations can be suffocating. But what we share, it's ours. That doesn't change because of others." Ethan felt a mix of relief and admiration. He realized that she valued honesty, trust, and authenticity above societal pressures, a philosophy he had come to embrace as well. Their friendship, now carrying the quiet weight of mutual understanding and unspoken affection, faced its first real challenge when Lily's family formally acknowledged her growing responsibility.